The Astros are the interesting one to me in this division right now. And obviously it's a much different kind of look than we're used to seeing. And it can't be easy for Astros fans to see what Kyle Tucker and Alex Bregman are doing with their new teams right now, especially when the offense has been really average so far. But you look at where they're at, they're still, hovering, I think, just above 500 right now.
It's time for Sportsnaut's MLB podcast. Big League Buzz, news and interviews from around the majors. Here's your host, Scott Gulbranson.
Welcome back to the Big League Buzz podcast from Sportsnaut. I'm Scott Gulbranson, your host. And if you're a baseball fan, you know the AL West is already wild. If you look at this thing, it's already a tight race. The difference between first place and last place, just a few games. So what's causing all that? Well, we have a guest that's uniquely qualified to talk us through that, and that is Rowan Kavner from Fox Sports. He covers Major League Baseball there. And Rowan, appreciate you being with us here on the show, but let's dive into this. I've heard you talk about this division in your writing and on Fox Sports, talking about the Mariners, who are leading the division right now just by a few games, that lead being very tenuous. When you look at this division, how close, how tight it is so far this season, why is that, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think for a long time we're wondering, is anyone actually that good in this division? And, I think before the season, I was a believer in the Rangers. I thought they had the offense to not just maybe win the division, but maybe get themselves back to the World Series. It was a regression last year for them. This year, I don't think anyone could have predicted just how bad it started. And it's still early. You wonder how much do you overreact from a little over a month of action, but this is problematic. And clearly for the Rangers right now, they think it is too. They're 29th in runs scored. They're 28th in on-base percentage. They're 27th in OPS. And now you're starting to see some changes being made. They fired their offensive coordinator, which, is always kind of a funny name when you're talking about baseball, but that's, these guys have different titles for offensive coaching. So anyway, so they fire Donnie Ecker. They put Leody Taveras on waivers. Jake Berger's been optioned. So they're clearly kind of feeling the heat. I think all things considered for them, that they're close to 500 despite all of this is probably a positive. And that says a lot about how the pitching's been for them, which has been really, really good. But yeah, they're kind of falling in that division. And, Seattle's been really, really hot. You mentioned them kind of at the top there. They've won 8 straight series, and it's been their offense that has carried them. So the division's hard to figure out because I don't think anyone could have predicted anything that I just said.
Yeah, in fact, I know I heard a discussion you had with some of your colleagues there at Fox talking about how some of these teams have negative run differential, right? So you start to think about that. You start to think about divisions like the NL East, NL West, where that's not the case, where you have teams scoring runs. And then you look at teams in this division, teams you thought would just run away with it at the beginning. I thought, Houston, of course, always comes up. Then you have the Angels with the hot start. Now they've cooled off. When you start to kind of separate, you talked about the Rangers already, but when you look at these teams, where they sit, the health of these teams, where some of their marquee players are at this early in the season, who is anybody there starting to pop their head up and you starting to notice and say, hey, you know what? These guys could eventually get on track and take a hold of this division.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't want to overlook what the Mariners have done, and I don't know if like Edgar Martinez has just some magic cure for their hitting department, but it's been kind of incredible to see. I don't think you can really overlook the fact that they've scored the most runs in the division now. And this was surprising to see. I know Jorge Polanco's been good, but if you set the minimum to 80 plate appearances, the only player in baseball with a higher OPS than Jorge Polanco is Aaron Judge right now. Will that continue? I don't know. I'm probably going to take the under on that happening. I don't know that they can continue to hit at this level, but Cal Raleigh is legit, leads baseball in home runs. They're walking a lot. They're hitting a lot of homers. The OPS is great. And add on the fact they haven't had George Kirby. Logan Gilbert's hurt. The starting pitching hasn't been what it probably can be. So, look, I think you're probably going to see a regression from the offense, but they've been great so far. We've said for years now, they can just be okay offensively. The ceiling's still really high for this group. So they've been way better than that. So even if there's a little regression there, if they can get their starting pitching healthy, I still think that's a dangerous team. It's weird because they didn't do a whole lot to fix that offense. And you thought, man, they really need some bigger force there. And it just hasn't really mattered. The Astros are the interesting one to me in this division right now. And obviously it's a much different kind of look than we're used to seeing. And it can't be easy for Astros fans to see what Kyle Tucker and Alex Bregman are doing with their new teams right now, especially when the offense has been really average so far. But you look at where they're at, they're still, hovering, I think, just above 500 right now. Hunter Brown looks like a Cy Young contender. The rest of the rotation's been more okay than great, but Pena's taking a leap forward, and you look at the pieces that they got. I know it doesn't make up for not having Kyle Tucker in there, but they've been kind of okay. And you have to imagine that Altuve, Jordan, Yair Diaz,
Mhm.
some of those guys start to get hot because you haven't seen it yet, and they're still in okay position. So, hey, look, you said it. It's kind of anybody's division up for grabs. I know I haven't mentioned the Athletics. That offense can kind of bang, but I'm still a little concerned or skeptical about the pitching staff, especially in that ballpark. So the Astros are kind
Yeah.
of the interesting one just because they're so different from the group we're used to seeing.
Well, and that's let's you mentioned the Athletics, and for the A's, the Sacramento slash Las Vegas, maybe A's. We don't
Can
know
we just
yet.
put
Uh,
Sacramento on it? I mean, come on. It's just
just
I
might
can't
as
do
well.
the no city name. Just I know it's temporary, but man,
Yeah. I mean, that's what they are, right? So let's call them Sacramento
yeah.
A's. You mentioned the ballpark, and when you start to think about how difficult this division is or how tight this division is, 84, 89 wins might win it, right? So you look at that and you start to think about when that ballpark, let's say the A's somehow can stay in this thing. I think they'll eventually fade, to your point, for some of the points you made. They have some great young talent there, but when will that ballpark come into play when you get late in the season, and suddenly you're playing in a small place, a minor league ballpark, where it could actually hurt them down the stretch?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good point, and it's hard to really say because they have a lot of guys who can slug. So
Mm.
I don't know if it's going to be a Colorado situation where it's that kind of weird, but I mean, I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. They're used to playing it at home. They have a lot of guys that can put the ball over the wall. I think opposite of that, Jacob Wilson, just with his hit tool, has kind of been interesting to watch, and will be someone to watch for the AL Rookie of the Year kind of contention there. And I know Soderstrom's kind of taken a little bit of a power lull after that hot start, but yeah, it's weird to me. It's about how does Severino, Springs, JP Sears, they've kind of all in that rotation been a little bit better lately. Can they kind of keep that going? Can they do enough there to make up for that? The defense also has not been good. And again, if you're hitting the ball out of the ballpark all the time, I guess that doesn't necessarily matter. But yeah, I'm interested to see. And I guess kind of your guess is as good as mine on that. We just have no track record to go off of at a ballpark like that when you have two minor league ballparks in Major League Baseball. So they haven't played a lot of tough competition. I think that's probably worth saying. And I believe they have a 4-9 record against teams that are 500 or better so far. So it's early. I have a hard time thinking the pitching can hold up, though, for the reasons kind of you mentioned there as well.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to watch them. Now, you mentioned the Angels too, and we got love for you Angel fans out there because we understand what you've been going through and continue to go through. Of course, they tease their fans. They played so well at the beginning of the season, fallen off now. But what to you, being down in California, what is the future of this franchise? Where is it going? Do fans have anything to look forward to? Minor league system, what this group that owns this team is going to do, or is the Angels kind of, are they still in a flux of kind of we don't know what's going to happen?
I think it's more the latter right now, and I was down in Anaheim last week and heard from Perry Manassian, and I think there's a lot of questions going on right now. It's been bad. There's a 9-5 start. You're thinking, okay, some of the moves they made in the offseason, can I talk myself into this? And then they drop 15 of 19. They have a minus 64 run differential. It's the worst in the American League. They have the worst walk rate in baseball. The at bats are poor. They have the lowest on base percentage, high strikeout rate. It has not looked very good lately. And now you have Mike Trout hurt on top of that. There's not a lot of help coming, especially in the outfield. And Ward and Adele have not played at the level that they hope for. And in that conversation that I mentioned, it's a lot of, there's a lot of guys that you think could probably play better, but there's not a lot of help coming. And you mentioned the minor league ranks. There's not about to be a bunch of dudes who are about to come help that offense, and pick them up. And Tyler Anderson's been okay in the rotation, but it just hasn't looked good. And there's not a ton of answers right now. Logan O'Hoppe can hit the ball out of the ballpark. Zach Neto's been a boost offensively, but until those plate appearances get a lot better or guys that are already there can kind of pick it up, I wouldn't count on a ton of help immediately coming up the ranks.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Now you look at these teams, and I'm not going to ask you for any kind of prediction. It's too early for that kind of stuff. But I will ask you this: when you look at these teams, how they're set up, if this is, let's say, the top two or three at least stay pretty close throughout the season, and we get to crunch time, which team or teams are better fitted to make late season moves or to make trade deadline moves to bolster those lineups, if any?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really curious to see what the Rangers do about their offensive situation, and I have to, they've shown that they're kind of willing to spend money in the offseason to to get guys that they think can kind of put them over the top. They add Berger, they add Jock Peterson, thinking those are going to be lifts. Neither one of them. I mean, again, Jake Berger got option. Jock's had a really rough time early on here. I think the fact that they've started to make kind of wholesale changes tells you that they're not about to try to go, throw in the towel on this season. You have DeGrom back. You have Malley pitching at a really high level. The starting pitching has been tremendous. We'll have one of the lowest ERAs in the American League. So I think they could probably go try to look for help. They have some pieces on the farm that can maybe help them out there. But they're not about to throw in the towel on this, especially if they're still kind of hovering around 500. I do think one interesting thing, if the Mariners can kind of keep this level of play up, we've talked about them needing to find another bat. Obviously, they've hit really well, but they could still stand for an upgrade, I think, at first base. So that would be an interesting team, I think, if they're still really up there contending close to, the end of July. I think that would be an area that I would look at for them.
Going to be fun to watch. I love that the entire West Coast, as a guy who grew up in San Diego, with the NL West and the AL West for different reasons, of course, being so tight and so close with some great competitive teams in there. So good stuff. Rowan Kavner from Fox Sports. Follow him, by the way, on X at Rowan Kavner. We have it there on the screen for you. Rowan, we'll catch up with you down the line here during the season. We certainly appreciate your time today.
Sounds good. I'm excited to see when I'm back in 2 months and the Athletics have just run away with this.
You never know, man. I'm sure they would love that. Maybe Vegas would actually pay attention, although it's going to be 3 years.
All right.
All right, Rowan, thanks again. Take care. All right, so there you have it. Our good buddy Rowan Kavner from Fox Sports. Some great insight there to the American League West and what's going on. I mean, you look at these teams. Who would have thought the A's, the Sacramento A's, would be only a few games out of first place? You have the Rangers struggling. You have the Mariners doing well, but as Rowan said, lots of gaps on these teams. So it's going to be interesting seeing what they can do to either get more performance out of the players they have currently, or if they're going to go out and make a move. We'll see what happens there. But we're always going to stay on top of it and bring it to you here. Again, thanks to Rowan Kavner for doing that. You can follow him at Rowan Kavner. You can see that on your screen below as well. We certainly appreciate it. Don't forget as well, you got to help us out here on Big League Buzz, the MLB podcast from Sportsnaut. Make sure you subscribe, whether you're watching us on YouTube or wherever you're watching us. Make sure you hit subscribe, hit that notifications bell so you know every time we have a new video. Also, our audio podcast, you can get this on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get your audio. Just look for Big League Buzz from Sportsnaut and you can subscribe. Do us a favor, rate and review there as well. We give you a nice podcast. It's not an hour long. We have great conversations here, anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. That's all you need. It's great for your commute, great for your lunch break to keep up on what's happening around baseball. Don't forget, you can also keep track at sportsnaut.com, where we cover the league all year round. We certainly appreciate you being with us. Until next time, keep swinging for the fences. Take care.